At the end of last video, we had all the corner joints cut and fit. Now it's time to lay out and cut the joinery for the back side of this bench. For stability and maximum storage space, the rear beam will be fastened to the wall and the bench frame will attach to it. A simple lap joint would be sufficient to support the weight of the bench and all the equipment, but it's not sufficient to prevent the bench from coming away from the wall. Therefore, I've chosen to use dovetail half laps. I'll start by cutting the tails and then proceed to cutting the sockets to match. So I'll measure and lay out a full-size tail and use my bevel gauge to record the tail angle. I then use the bevel gauge to set the saw blade angle on my table saw. Now it's time to set up the tenon jig. Again, I'm cutting close to my lines, leaving a little to be cleaned up and finished by hand. Once all the tails have been cut, it's time to cut the shoulders. Again, I will employ a stop block clamped to my saw's fence and a depth stop adjustment. With an adjustment to the depth stop, I can cut the shoulder for the half lap. Now once that's done, a quick trip back to the tenon jig and these tails are roughed out. I will use my marking gauge to put a line at 1 inch and proceed to finish these up with a chisel. One trick I have learned is to cut the corners down to the line all around. Then it's easy to see what needs to be removed. Next step is to locate and lay out the sockets. The best way to ensure they are in the correct location is to clamp the back beam to the front and transfer the lines using a square. Tracing the tails with a knife scores the grain for a clean edge. It also accounts for any imperfections, ensuring a tight joint. Time to cut. First I'll cut close to my lines. I'll leave about a 1/16 of an inch to clean up later. Then I'll remove the bulb. I'm using my chisel here to cut the wood just above my layout line. That way, if I do take too big of a bite, the wood starts to go off away from me, it's going to break, hopefully, at that line that I've cut.
He picks up a bus and he throws it back down as he waves through the buildings toward the center of town. Oh no, they say he's got to go, 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 Godzilla. Yeah. Oh no, there goes Tokyo, go, go, Godzilla. Yeah.
One of the more difficult things to joinery is not getting a bigger hammer. If it doesn't fit, rather than wail on it with a mallet, remove the material that is in the way.
Godzilla! History shows again and again how nature points up the folly of man. Godzilla! History shows again and again how nature points up the folly of man. Godzilla! History shows again and again how nature points up the folly of man. Godzilla!
Once the joints are all cut and fit, it's time to locate the rear beam on the wall. As you can see, the floor in my garage is pitched towards the door. That's so the snow and ice melting off the cars parked in here drain out. There's also a ledge preventing accurate measurement. So this is my solution. The gray level is plumb. On it is marked the height that I want the frame to be. The brown level is projecting my height to the wall. From there I must find the studs and level my back beam. Next week I'll cut the legs to length. I'll add corner bracing and finishing oil.